Welcome everybody to Todd Sylvester Inspires BeliefCast. I am so excited today. I have an amazing guest, which we'll introduce here in just a minute. But as you know, I call this podcast a BeliefCast because I'm passionate about belief systems, because belief dictates the way we behave, and so I get to witness every day people overcoming a limiting belief that they've held on for decades. And when they switch that and they flip that belief to something that's more liberating and free, to watch their behavior follow that is truly an exciting thing to watch. Our guest today is Hannah McVeigh. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
She's an incredible individual, a powerful woman, and I'm so excited for you to get to know her today. And so I want to thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm excited.
Absolutely. As I study belief systems each and every single day, if you look at all the greats in the world, people who have done some amazing things in all aspects, in all areas of life, they all have a powerful belief system. They believe in themselves, and they have a belief about the world that's actually positive and empowering. Hannah is no different. And again, that's why I wanted you guys to get to know her today. She has an incredible story, probably one of the greatest stories when it comes to overcoming something when it comes in about the addiction recovery world, which we'll get to in a minute. But she really, truly is a walking miracle, and you'll understand that here shortly. But so we're going to get right into it. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
Good morning. We're here bright and early, right?
Yes, it is early. Yeah, a little early for me.
Are you usually up this early?
No.
No?
No, this is early.
Well, thank you for joining. And I wanted to maybe just start off a little bit about talk about maybe where you grew up, a little bit about your family, how many siblings you might have. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. I grew up in Mesa, Arizona.
Okay.
And I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Where do you fall in line?
Second to youngest. Okay. I have a younger sister.
Gotcha. Right on. And so how long did you live in Mesa?
I lived there till I was about 12. And then when I was 12, we moved up to, I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? We're both a little nervous, but you know what? That's okay.
Okay. When I was 12, we moved up to Utah.
Okay. Great. So where did you go to school, high school?
I went to Skyline High School.
Okay.
Churchill Junior High.
What did you do there? Did you play any sports? Were you involved in any clubs or?
I played volleyball. I played for the school team, and I played club volleyball.
Now I know why you're so good at volleyball.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played club ball all through high school.
Okay. Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else that you did in high school besides that?
I was in choir.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a choir kid.
Do you still sing now, or?
Yeah, just for fun.
Yeah. In your car as you're driving?
I think I'm great, yeah. As I'm driving, yeah.
That's awesome. And so does all your family live here?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
All my siblings live here.
Right on.
It's super fun. I love it. I'm super close with my family, which is really nice.
Yeah, you got a great family for sure. So tell us about what does a day in the life look like in Hannah's life?
Well, I work at Nordstrom.
Okay.
And it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, selling kids' clothes. So I'll wake up and I'll set my intent. And if it's about work, I'll kind of set my goal for the day.
Okay. What
I want to make, what I want to do, and I'll have some positive self-talk in there. Just pump myself up for the day.
Nice.
And again, I'm super close with my family, so I'll go see my mom a lot.
Okay.
And just hang out.
Now, if I understand correctly, you're working out a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
keep hearing from Jake how tough and buff you're getting.
I don't know about that, but
yeah. Jake, by the way, is her boyfriend, and they are getting married.
Yep.
Fiance, excuse me.
Fiance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When are you getting married?
Our date is March 17th.
Nice. You guys are gonna get to know Jake eventually too, but
he's great.
Two of the best people I've ever met by far, and so I'm excited for that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, that's neat. So you guys work out quite a bit, don't you?
Yep. So
do you go to the gym? What else do you do?
We go to the gym in the summer. We run, but now it's too cold, so we go to the gym a lot during the week.
Yeah, don't you ride bikes sometimes too? Or
no, he does.
Oh, he does. Okay.
I do not ride bikes. No, I do.
How come?
I don't enjoy like feeling out of control, and so like
Okay.
I don't really like snowboarding for the same reason. I don't like to go fast.
Yeah, I tried snowboarding once,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'll stick with skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little more control.
Yep, exactly. I mean, it's fun, but yeah, I don't like to go fast. So
Right on.
I don't think bike riding downhill is for me. I'll do a stationary bike.
Yeah, right on. So, who do you admire in life? Do you follow? Do you read and study about certain people? Is there anyone in your life that you like to?
Yeah, there's a lot of people
study?
that I look up to for sure. My mom is an incredible woman. She just is always there for me. Like if I need to talk about anything, she's the person I always go to. She just has really great advice and love for me.
Sure.
Which is super nice. But Elizabeth Smart is incredible.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read her book, but you should read her book because
I can imagine. I've seen her documentaries that just kind of came out, and I watched those. And
just her perspective on life is so amazing. Like what she's been through, and then she's just so positive, and she really believes in the power of choice, and that you don't get to choose what happens to you. Obviously, she never would have chosen what happened to her. But she got to choose after how she responded to it.
Wow,
and
I love that.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
Wow. Well, it's interesting you say that because one of my heroes is Jaycee Dugard. Kind of the same situation. She was held captive for 18 years, and she was, viciously raped through that entire time. And she has one of the most powerful statements that I've ever heard before in my life. And she says, "I choose not to wallow in self-pity." And therefore she's free. And talk about powerful belief systems. Elizabeth Smart could easily be a drug addict, alcoholic to numb out all these horrible negative feelings, but yet, like you said, she chooses not to. She
chooses not to, and for the most part, I mean, I don't know her obviously, but it just seems like she's just so positive and like she just let it go because she chose to.
Right.
And like now she speaks out against it. She's just so cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, let's get into a little bit of your background and your story. You've got an amazing story. You've been through a lot. You've been through hell and back, to be honest.
Yep.
And so if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds
so
good.
I've known Hannah for several years now, and when I first met Hannah, she was not in a good place.
No.
She was addicted to heroin, if I'm not mistaken. And so let's maybe talk a little bit about, kind of how that all kind of started with you. I mean, obviously in high school, it sounded like you were involved with volleyball and a few other things, but tell us kind of what was going on and when that all kind of started.
Yeah, it started way back. So I said when I was 12, we moved from Arizona up to Utah. The reasoning were my parents were having struggles and they separated, and my brother went to Lifeline treatment center.
It's here in Salt Lake.
And so I had a really good childhood. Like I was super happy, things seemed normal and everything was good. And then all of these bombs were dropped and I didn't really know how to deal with it. And then we moved to a different state, and I just felt like I didn't really fit in with the kids when I went to Churchill. Like they all came seemingly from good Mormon solid families, and my family was kind of in disarray. So
what was your belief about you at that time?
I wasn't good enough. I didn't fit in.
Right.
My world didn't make sense. So I just felt really out of control. And I remember like crying to my mom every Sunday night, like I don't want to go back to school, just like feeling so lonely. Was a main thing. And so I think that's where it really started, was not really knowing my place and who I was. And so I would just repeat some really negative things to myself. And I really grew to not like who I was. Like it seemed like I was fitting in. I played volleyball. I had really good friends, but I was just so lonely and like,
Well, you're touching my heart right now. I'm serious. I'm getting a little emotional because I know who you are now, and to think back then, that's what you believed about yourself, and that's the crazy thing is that we tell ourselves this story, And it isn't real, but I get why you were thinking that. I mean,
Mhm.
you got all these bombs dropped on you. You leave to go to a different state, and you're coming to this place where you don't know anybody.
Mhm.
It's easy, and most kids do fall into that that belief that we're not good enough,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So obviously that was going on. So you felt out of place, and that belief was there. So what did that kind of lead to? How are you trying to get away from that?
Yes. So I found just one weekend. I found in my mom's medicine cabinet a Percocet, and like I knew there's been history in my family of drug use.
Okay.
And so I knew what it was, and I knew it was bad, and I wanted to try it.
How old were you when you found the Percocet?
14 or 15.
Okay.
And so I took it, and like suddenly everything was quiet. Like all the voices in my head that were like, "You're not good enough. You're lonely. This is too hard." They just kind of got quiet for a minute.
Wow.
And it felt good.
Yeah.
And so whenever I could, I would try to find more pills. It didn't happen very often, but often enough.
Right.
And that feeling was like really liberating for a while.
So did that lead into, I mean, did you start trying to take a Percocet every day kind of thing?
No, it was
just when you started feeling overwhelmed? Or?
Yeah, okay. Mostly when I could find them.
Right.
And I didn't have that much access to them.
Okay.
And so when I could find them, I would take them.
Okay. Were you doing anything else at that time too? Just taking a pill every now and then when you could find it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long did that go on for?
Throughout high school, I guess. Every now and then. Like I said, I didn't have that much access, so just like occasionally, if I could find it, I would do it.
Okay.
But I always remember that feeling, like, oh, it helped you feel good.
Yeah.
And so then I went to college. I went to Utah State, and then I started drinking and smoking cigarettes and like rebelling even more.
Mm-hmm.
I told myself I was just trying to find out who I really was, like just trying to figure out my place. And I didn't fit in necessarily with the Mormon side, I didn't think. And so I'm going to go the exact opposite and see if I fit in there.
Right.
But I ended up meeting a boy up there who was really mean to me. He was physically and emotionally and sexually abusive to me. And all of those voices got louder and louder and louder. You're not good enough.
So you're with this guy who's abusing you on every level, it sounds like. That had to have been really scary.
Oh, yeah. It was a little 19-year-old girl. And it was like my first real boyfriend, too.
Right.
It was very scary.
How long did that go on? I mean, how long were you with this guy? And
almost a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine that just kind of made things worse, obviously.
Oh, yes. It amplified everything. Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
Were you using with him? Was he drinking and smoking and all that stuff?
Drinking and smoking pot and taking pills when we could find them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So kind of jump ahead there. You're going through this experience with this guy, and it's lasted for about a year. How did you get away from this guy, and what, kind of talk about that?
Well, so there was a teacher up at Utah State who was amazing, and I can't even remember her name. I was in such a fog and so behind in school and just like kind of fumbling through life, just trying to make it. But I had bruises all on my arms. And I went to class one day and I was behind, so I had to talk to her and just try to make up an assignment. And she just stopped me and she was like, "Who's hurting you?" And I just broke down crying, like, oh, finally someone sees it and is addressing it so I can. And so I talked to her about it, and we kind of came up with a plan that didn't work, actually. The plan didn't work. But I went back to the boyfriend because I was like, well, maybe he'll change this one more time. Maybe he'll change. And then we got into another fight, and everything just like kind of got quiet and really clear, and it was just like, you can go home, and you can go home to your mom and go right now. And so I just packed up some stuff really quick, and I drove home to Salt Lake, and I never went back.
Wow. That had to have been scary, but also you were very brave to do that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I would imagine. Did he try to reach out to you after that?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah, we had to get a restraining order and all of it.
Now I know why. Maybe you are Elizabeth Smart's one of your heroes because on some level,
yeah, not even close.
Not even close to what she went through. But it doesn't matter. It's all relative. That was your situation.
Yeah.
That's scary. Yeah, I can't even. I mean, I have 3 girls of my own. I can't imagine one of my daughters going through that. That would be really, really scary. Wow. So you finally go home, and then are you still using, or what's going on?
Oh
at this
yeah,
point?
because at that point I think I was 20, but like all of those voices that you're not good enough were really reinforced, and so at that point I really hated who I was, and also I blamed myself for staying and not seeing it, and for staying so long. So it just, it was a pretty dark time.
Yeah. Wow. And then obviously you came home and told your mom what was going on. She sounds like, because you said she's one of your heroes now.
Yep.
So obviously she was very supportive and trying to help you. Okay.
Yeah.
But that belief system that you had, that you weren't good enough, that you couldn't do it, you're never going to get out of this, was obviously still holding you back. Correct?
Oh yeah. Yep. And so that's when I really started finding more pills, more opportunities to find pills. But I also started cutting and burning myself because if I couldn't find something to take, if I could I don't know, I was going through so much inner turmoil that if I could see like an actual reason for the pain, it made more sense to me. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I was going through. And so if I had a burn I could watch, then it just made sense for all that pain.
Wow. Well, I do know that, people who burn or cut, that's almost a release. It actually feels good because your emotional pain is so intense that it's a way, even for a moment, to forget the emotional pain and focus on the burn. Wow. Wow. That is unbelievable. So tell me how you ended up, obviously this has led to like starting to do heroin and things like that. Can you explain that, like when that started? Or are you at this point already doing that?
Well, no, not at this point.
Okay.
This is still just drinking and taking whatever I could, but I hadn't led up to heroin yet. I went to treatment, and I was drinking a lot and taking a lot of pills, and so I went to treatment before I came to Wasatch, and I met a boy there, and I started dating him, and he had used heroin. And
which, by the way, is the worst thing you can do in a treatment center. Right?
Yes.
We used to give you a hard time about that one, right?
Oh, for sure.
We can laugh now, but at the time, I mean, you were looking for some validation.
Definitely. That's how I knew how to
if I'm
find
with
it.
a guy, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And even though he's very unhealthy, you felt at least, hey, someone likes me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I must be okay.
And again, that goes back to what we talk about, is that belief system. She had a belief she wasn't good enough, and so she reaches out to some guy who's very unhealthy, and therefore it gives her, even for a moment, a sense that she's okay, but it isn't real, right? Because she's reaching out to something that's external.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So we used to really give you a hard time.
For sure, and I didn't get it at first, but I get it now.
Yeah. But I understand in the moment, that's kind of that was the best you knew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I have to be a little bit kind to my past self. Yeah, I was doing the best I could.
Yeah. You really were.
Yeah.
But so this is going on, and is that when the heroin started? Did you start using with this guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, isn't that fascinating how that started in treatment almost, right? Yeah. So, how long did that go on, and how long, how long were you using heroin at that point, I guess?
So he relapsed and was using a lot longer than me. I knew it was really bad. When I started heroin, I was really in a bad way. And so, like, I put it off for as long as I could. And then at one point, I just like, I don't care anymore. I'm going to try this. I don't care. And so I probably used for about 4 months or so. And then I knew I needed help. And he was going to treatment, and I was going to be homeless. And I didn't have any other options. So again, I went to my mom. It's like, I need help. I need something to change.
Right.
And so I came to Wasatch.
Right. And that's when I met you for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. She when I met Hannah, I mean, I think you weighed like 80 pounds. I mean, you were so thin.
Yeah.
And you just looked like death. And
felt like it too. Yep.
Yeah, she felt like it. You did you go to detox?
Yeah, I went to uni.
Okay, she went to uni,
and then I left uni.
Did they put you on? They put you on Suboxone?
Yes.
Correct. Okay, and this is what I wanted to kind of talk about today. I mean, all of this obviously, but so they put you on Suboxone. You come to Wasatch. You're coming off of heroin. You're sick. I remember you were in your room for like the first week and a half or so. We didn't see her. So talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I was really hurting. I weighed about 95 pounds, I think, when I was at uni. And so they put me on Suboxone, and it just was, but in my head, I just was saying, this is too hard. I'm too scared. Like, I can't do this.
See, that's another belief.
Oh, yeah.
Is it hard? For sure, but it's not too hard. But that's what you're saying. This is just too hard. And that's a belief that holds us back. Okay?
And so I stayed in my room pouting and hurting.
Yes,
for I think it was like 2 weeks. And like, I just didn't want to try. I didn't want to do it. I was scared and I was sick. And I was in my room, and everyone else was in group. And I was just sitting there, and I was like, this feels very familiar. Like, you know how to do this very well. You know how to play the victim. You know how to get out of stuff. You know how to cry and pout and avoid very well.
Right. Why
don't you try something else? And so I was like, okay, to myself, I was like, all right, we're just going to try. We're going to see what happens, because, like, it can't get much worse.
Right. And
so I started meeting with you and listening to what you had to say, and I started, one thing you said was, like, love yourself. You need to love yourself, and that's just the most powerful thing you can do. And so I started to repeat to myself, I love myself, because my thing was, I hate myself. I hate my life. I would wake up every morning, and that's the first thought that would go through my head is, I hate this. I hate it.
And it's interesting you say that, because you said at the beginning of this BeliefCast, you said, what's your day look like? And you said, I get up and I set my intent in a positive, powerful way.
Yep.
Without you knowing it at the time, the moment you woke up, you said, I hate myself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
so you set your intent. And therefore, everything kind of followed and kind of mirrored that intent throughout your day, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yep. Where was I? So, let's see.
I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
that's okay.
My bad.
No, I love it. You're fine. That was very important, actually.
Yeah, but I just thought that's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I really believe when we set our intent, we basically speak it into existence. So when I say I hate myself, God, the universe says, yes, there you go. Yeah. Go ahead, hate yourself.
And I'll give you some reasons why, and you'll be able to see it throughout the day. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started to say I love myself instead.
Yes, yeah.
And like, it took a minute. That felt very uncomfortable for me at first to say I love myself, I love my life. What? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But as it became more familiar and I repeated it, it became a habit. And like, I held myself differently. I would look people in the eye when I was walking around. I would actually have conversation with people.
Right.
Just everything changed. And so at first, I tried to get off Suboxone, and I was crying about it, and I made them put me back on it. And then the second time I was tapering, I forgot I was coming off of it, because I was so like wrapped up in these new beliefs, and like I am so
Yeah.
happy, and like I love my life, and I'm gonna get this, and I'm getting after this. And tapering off Suboxone just became, it didn't matter almost. I forgot.
Well, if I remember correctly, is you had a belief it's too hard to come off Suboxone, and it was so much so that you came into and told us that I'm leaving. This is too hard. I just want to go use, because you said this is just too hard, right? And we talked about switching that belief system, saying no, you can do this. It actually can be easy, right? And so that was one of the most remarkable things about Hannah, is watching her before our very eyes change her belief about coming off of that. And by the way, if you don't know, coming off Suboxone, if you ask anyone who's done it, they said it's one of the most brutal things they've ever done. It's even harder than coming off of heroin, almost, right?
Yep.
But Hannah flipped her belief system around. It's saying, no, I'm going to do it. This will be easy. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
And therefore, what happened?
It was easy. Yeah.
And this is funny because we started calling you the ninja, because it was just so remarkable. And the example you set for everyone, not only here at Wasatch, but just even me as a counselor, you even blew me away, because I've never been on Suboxone. So, but I've studied it, and I obviously see people coming off of it every single day.
Yeah.
But to watch you do that, I was so inspired. I was like, wow, here's this 95-pound, skinny, heroin drug addict and whatever, broken, damaged. Just flip it and say, no, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
So that, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, was kind of like when things started to change in your life.
Definitely.
Talk about that, like how that felt.
Amazing. Like, it's just kind of hard to put into words. It was so clear. Like, all of the principles that you teach, like I am a creator and I am powerful beyond measure and I have the dignity to choose. They just, once I started switching some beliefs that I love myself and coming off Suboxone will be easy and like I have a really great life. It just, all of those other beliefs, they're just part of me. So it was just like I was realizing something that I knew from a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I was just remembering it. So it just...
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you hear what she just said? It wasn't that she didn't know this stuff. It was as if you had forgotten.
Yeah, I had forgotten.
You were just remembering. And that is a principle that people need to understand, because you know that you're powerful beyond measure. You know that you're a creator, and you know you have that gift to make a decision. And when you were little, and when I was little, and all you listeners, when we were little and you were little, you knew this, but we forget it.
Yeah.
So all I was doing was reminding you.
That's what it felt like. Yeah, and I was just like waking up again and being like, oh yeah. And it just was so fun. Like I just remember having so much fun in treatment, like discovering
fun in treatment, people.
Discovering who I was again. It was just like I was a little kid and I got to play around with honesty and I got to play around with love of self, and it was just so freeing, and I still do it every single day.
Well, one of the things I see often with clients, and even with you, if I look back on what you were struggling with, you really thought something was wrong with you.
Absolutely, yeah. And
we would just laugh, like she would, it's funny because everyone who looks at Hannah from a distance, especially when you're going through that, including your mom, can see your greatness.
Oh, yeah.
We're all like, what is she doing? But you are walking around believing something's wrong with you. I'm not good enough, right? That is probably the number one thing I hear all the time. I'm not good enough, right? So here you are walking around that, you have a belief that, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
But what was the truth?
Nothing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with me.
Nothing.
I'm great.
Nothing. The most delightful surprise in life is to suddenly recognize there's nothing wrong with you. Right? And that's what you're experiencing.
Yeah, it was delightful.
Yeah. I mean, how often do you hear what you just said? I got to enjoy being honest.
Yeah, it was so fun. I mean, yeah, it'd been years of lying and just like about the dumbest things I would lie, always. And so to just get to play with honesty and have fun, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Still is.
Well, again, honestly, we called her the ninja. It was incredible. And I still look at you as like a ninja because how you live your life, and you know, and that's been a while, you know. So, you know, if we jump ahead just a little bit, I mean, you've been clean for a long time now. Like we said in the beginning, you got a great job. You've got an amazing boyfriend who you're getting, or fiance. Sorry, I keep forgetting. Okay. Sorry, Jake. Sorry about that, dude. And you two are getting married in March, and I mean, it just seems like things are kind of following into place, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's really nice.
Well, if you could go back to when you were 14 and 15, because that's kind of when things started.
Yeah.
If you could go back to your 14 or 15-year-old self, what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself at that age?
I would give myself a hug and just say you're okay.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with you, because that's so huge. And for years, starting then, I would just tell myself, you're not good enough. You're not okay. I would just say you're okay. And maybe just be gentle with yourself. Be kind. Like, be your own best friend. Because you have to hang out with yourself all day, every day. So why not have fun?
That's right. Yeah.
You know?
Wow. So hopefully you out there, and especially you kids, hopefully you just heard what she said. You know, I guarantee you right now, a lot of these kids are walking around right now thinking something's wrong with them. And take it from Hannah, it wasn't true though, right? I mean, you thought it was true, but the reality is that was part of you lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So kids out there who are walking around believing something's wrong, I mean, that advice that you give yourself, I mean, hopefully they hear this and do something different.
So. Yeah. Like, if you think there's something wrong with you, maybe say what you think is wrong out loud and laugh at it. Because power of laughter is really huge. Like, it can just release some tension. There really is nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. Do you remember when we would laugh at you and you were
drive me crazy?
She gets so upset. She's like,
so
"Why are you guys laughing?
Stop laughing."
She's over there crying, talking about how bad her life is, and we're laughing at her. But you said something really cool, because what we're trying to get people to do, especially in you in that instance, is to look at that and laugh at it.
Yeah.
Because it takes away the power of it, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah, but shifts it.
Because we knew nothing was wrong with her. She just didn't know it yet. And that's why we would laugh. And eventually she figured that out. And now she can laugh at herself. Right?
Yep.
I love that. That is so cool. So what advice other than that? Is there any other advice you'd give kids growing up who may be in your position where maybe their families, you know, mom and dad got a divorce, or they've moved, or they feel like they don't fit in, and they're feeling lost? Like, what advice could you give them, or what could they do to maybe kind of pull themselves out of that and move forward in a more powerful, empowering way?
Elizabeth Smart said, like, you don't get to choose what happens to you, but you get to choose how you react. And so just to live your life intentionally, set an intent, but it starts with loving yourself. And you gave me a challenge when I was at Wasatch, to say, I, Hannah, love myself. I love who I am. Right. 400 times a day.
400
times a day.
400.
And to write it down and to tally it. And so that's the challenge I would give to the viewers, is to say I love myself, and use your name, because it makes it more personal and it brings it home. And to write it down, and to say it out loud, and to yell it, and to say it into the mirror. So it just becomes natural, because that's where my base is. Everything I do is coming from a place of love, because I love myself.
Right. And
so when you get that base, which takes some practice, your life can change. Your world will change around you.
Right.
So that's my challenge.
So that's your. So yeah, I asked you to come with a challenge. So that's your challenge. Okay. Hopefully you guys heard that. Add your name. Say that you love yourself. So it'd be like, I, Todd, love myself. I, Todd, love who I am.
Yep.
And say it 400 times a day.
Yeah.
So how about for the next week? That's what the challenge is. So everyone who's listening, who downloads this, I dare you to do it, because I'll tell you what, that's how a belief system is formed. Repetition deepens the impression. So when we say something over and over again, right, it might feel like you're fighting it, but eventually it turns
shifts.
into, right?
And like, why not try it? Like, your life's not going to get any worse by trying this. So why not?
Well, you had some limiting beliefs. Obviously, you flipped those. What beliefs we'll kind of maybe end with this. What are some of the powerful beliefs that you have about yourself now? Obviously, you love yourself, and that's a powerful one. I mean, that's the ultimate. But what other beliefs do you have about yourself as you go throughout your life that are really empowering, that kind of set you free, so to speak, that you might have?
I love myself. I'm a happy person. I used to be very depressed, and I was actually diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. So I thought, I know.
By the way, that's completely false. I just want to say that.
It's hilarious. So I used to think I was very inconsistent.
Yeah.
But I am very consistent.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. I'm very loving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would add, you're a fighter.
Yeah.
You're very positive. You're one of those people that people feel safe around. And I say that because I think people need to know more about you. I'm going to challenge Hannah right here on this BeliefCast is to get out there, because you have such an amazing story. You truly inspire me to be better.
Thank you.
Honestly. You're one of my favorite people.
Thank
you.
I
think, and no matter what it is, whether it's if you were doing like life coaching, or whether you want to write a book, or whether you want to go speak in assemblies, I mean, especially little girls, they need to hear your message, because I guarantee you there's thousands and thousands of girls in schools right now at 14 and 15 who are feeling exactly how you felt.
Yeah.
Walking around like, I'm ugly, no one likes me, I can't do this, I hate myself, I'm not good enough. And so I'm going to just challenge you to come up with a way of getting your message out there.
Okay.
And you know this. I mean, I'm willing to help you do whatever I can. Obviously, this BeliefCast, download this, people. Get it to as many people as you possibly can. If you have a sister, a family member, a niece or a nephew or anyone, download this. Tell them to listen to this, because this is such an inspiring story, Hannah.
Thank you.
And it's amazing. Any parting words that you want to end with?
I don't think so.
You want to sing a song? Or?
No, I'm good.
You sure? You're sure?
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for you doing this. This is truly my honor to have you on here. I think the world of you. You know that.
Thank you.
I'm pumped, man. What a way to start Monday. I'm telling you.
Yep.
So listen to this, and if someone wanted to reach out to you, are you okay?
Absolutely.
So how would they do that? Probably,
I don't know.
Maybe your email?
Email,
Yeah. You want to tell us your email?
Yeah, it's hmcveigh, hmcvea@gmail.com.
Awesome. And then she's on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
hmcveigh, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she thinks.
She's
not sure.
I don't know. I'm not that great at social media.
Well, we'll be posting this soon. We'll have all the links up. And anyway, you are a walking miracle. And I truly, you are the ninja in my mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're amazing.
Right.
Good job.
Thanks
for being here. You're the best.
My pleasure.
Okay.